today of Israel. I know the president's been in contact with him earlier this week. The president talked about this in a speech the other day, that the people of Gaza deserve a better future than what they've had under Hamas. We think that the elimination of Hamas is what achieves peace. We're troubled by the humanitarian situation there. Both the Israelis, with American backing and support, have offered a plan to deliver aid that doesn't get diverted or stolen by Hamas. I've heard criticisms of that plan. We're open to an alternative if someone has a better one, but we are for all the aid we can get without without Hamas being able to steal it from people. But I think all of us would love to see an enduring end to this conflict, which, by the way, would end immediately if Hamas were to surrender. They're a terrorist group. They're a group that kidnapped, raped, murdered innocent people that had nothing to do with the war. And as long as they exist and they're around, you're not going to have peace.
Mr. Secretary, on Syria, you met with the delegation today. Can you tell us your impressions? And also, did you get any reassurances on some of the requests you made, including asking all foreign fighters to leave the country?
Yeah, look, I think that obviously this is a new relationship. We've now known each other and known them for 24 hours. So it's one that we think that a peaceful, stable Syria would be one of the most dramatic improvements in the region in a very long time. And we want to do everything we can to help achieve that. We have governing authorities there now who have expressed, not openly and repeatedly, that this is a nationalistic movement designed to building their country in a pluralistic society in which all the different elements of Syrian society are able to live together. They've expressed an interest in being at peace with all of their neighbors, including Israel. They've expressed an interest in driving out foreign fighters and terrorists and others that would destabilize the country and are enemies of this transitional authority. And they've asked for our help. And so we're going to try to help them. There's two routes here. One will be success, and we'll have a major transformation in the region. Or you're going to have a brutal civil war that will destabilize the region. We would prefer the former, not the latter. And we're going to do everything we can within our control to help effectuate that. Ultimately, it'll be up to the leaders there on the ground to make it happen, and they face some significant challenges, there's no doubt. The good news is that there are regional partners like Turkey, like Saudi Arabia, like Qatar, like the UAE, who are willing to contribute. And frankly, the lifting of sanctions, its first effects will be felt not because U.S. dollars are going to flow in, but because our regional partners will now be able to flow in dollars that will allow them not just to stand up a government that can provide basic services, but also will allow them the work of reconstruction. One of the things they expressed today, and they're asking for our help, is to identify weapons of mass destruction, chemical weapons, and so forth, identify these sites and remove them from the country. As they expressed today, they are victims of the use of chemical weapons. They don't want these chemical weapons stored in their country anywhere. But you don't just go in and grab a bunch of chemical weapons and put them in a truck. It requires technical expertise to both identify where they're located and remove them safely. And they've asked for our help in that regard, and we're going to be willing to provide it.
On the lifting of sanctions, obviously that's a pretty complicated process. Do you have a timeline for how long you think that might take? And also, how much advance notice was the State Department and Treasury given to sort of start that wind down?
Well, this was a road we were on, so we've been doing the work, the prep work for it. Their finance minister, we provided him a visa to travel to Washington, D.C. 2 weeks ago. Their foreign minister, we provided him a visa a week ago to travel to New York and met with our UN representative. I was scheduled to come here and meet today with the foreign minister. I was with the president when he made the decision to do this and included it in his speech. So we've been doing preparatory work in that regard. The core of these sanctions are statutory under the Caesar Act. I've had members of Congress in both parties ask us to use the waivers authorities in that law, and that's what the president intends to do. Those waivers have to be renewed every 180 days. Ultimately, if we make enough progress, we'd like to see the law repealed, because you're going to struggle to find people to invest in a country when in 6 months sanctions could come back. We're not there yet. That's premature. I think we want to start with the initial waiver, which will allow foreign partners who wanted to flow in aid to begin to do so without running the risk of sanctions. I think as we make progress, hopefully we'll be in a position soon or one day to go to Congress and ask them to permanently remove the sanctions.
NATO engagements, there are some reports suggesting that you have opposed inviting President Zelensky to next NATO summit. Is that accurate?
No.
And
I don't know where that's coming from.
You also suggested bringing back NATO-Russia Council in a framework of Ukraine discussion.
That wasn't discussed today either. I mean, that might happen, but I haven't discussed that. On the first point, multiple members today of our colleagues in there raised Zelensky being invited. We didn't oppose it. I mean, we're bringing the Indo-Pacific countries to NATO. We invited the Syrian foreign minister today to come here and meet with me. So many leaders who are not members of NATO are invited to NATO conferences. They're not at the leaders' meeting, but they're invited to the conference. So the same with our Indo-Pacific partners. But I don't know where you're getting these reports from.
Mr. Secretary, can I just ask you about tomorrow? It's been a little bit messy. When do the talks start? Will you be meeting with the Russian officials tomorrow in Istanbul? What will be the format of the talks? Will it be bilateral between Russians and Ukrainians, or will Americans be in the room?
Well, first of all, I'll be meeting tomorrow with the Foreign Minister, Fidan, and a Ukrainian delegation, a senior delegation from Ukraine that'll be in town. And so I'll meet with them. Someone from our team will be involved in the Russia talks. They sent a more lower level group over here. I hope that those talks will be between Ukraine and Russia with our Turkish counterparts in the room, along with someone from our team or members of our team at the appropriate level. But I want to be frank, we don't have high expectations of what will happen tomorrow. And frankly, at this point, I think it's abundantly clear that the only way we're going to have a breakthrough here is between President Trump and President Putin. It's going to require that level of engagement to have a breakthrough in this matter. I don't think anything productive is actually going to happen from this point forward until they engage in a very frank and direct conversation, which I know President Trump is willing to do.
Do you think that moment is closer, a meeting between the two?
Well, the President is impatient to end this war. He's impatient, as he's been clearly said, that something needs to happen soon. Too many people are dying. There's too much destruction. And I think he's ready to have that engagement and determine once and for all if there's a path forward and what that path is. And it's my assessment that I don't think we're going to have a breakthrough here until the President and President Putin interact directly on this topic.
But is there any pressure of a deadline on President Putin? Because, I mean, it was 2.5 weeks now since you said if there wasn't concrete progress that you would, and you said at the time now, that you would withdraw as mediators.
Well, we haven't been chasing this around the world anymore. I mean, that's already happened. We came because we were told that I was going to be here anyways, obviously, but we came because we were told that there might be a direct engagement between the Russians and the Ukrainians. That was originally the plan. You all heard the same thing. That was not to be the case, or if it is, it's not at the levels we had hoped it would be at. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they have tremendous breakthrough tomorrow if they talk. But I frankly do not believe that we're going to have a breakthrough here until President Trump sits face-to-face with President Putin and determines what his intentions are moving forward. What I can say with certainty is that the President's, look, he's willing to stick with us as long as it takes to achieve peace. What we cannot do, however, is continue to fly all over the world and engage in meetings that are not going to be productive. Again, I was scheduled to be here anyways because of the NATO summit, and so it just wound up working out that way. But the only way we're going to have a breakthrough here is with President Trump sitting face-to-face with President Putin and determining once and for all whether there's a path to peace, and if so, what it is. Again, the level of team that was sent by the Russian side is certainly not indicative of one that's going to lead to a major breakthrough. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm 100% wrong. I hope tomorrow the news says they've agreed to a ceasefire. They've agreed to enter serious negotiations. But I'm just giving you my assessment, honestly. I don't think it's going to lead to that just because of the structure and how this is all played out. I think the next thing that has to happen here for there to be a breakthrough, if there's going to be one, is going to involve President Trump's direct involvement. And I believe the President shares my assessment.
Secondly, it was President Trump who urged President Zelensky to accept this meeting with President Putin. What is the definition of what happened since then? And how did we end up from having Zelensky-Trump and Zelensky-Putin meeting to actually expecting Trump-Putin meeting?
Well, again, it's not expecting. It's my assessment, which I think the President shares, that the only one who can break this logjam at this point, if it can be broken, is President Trump. He just wants to end the war. He doesn't care who gets the credit for it. He doesn't care who went first. He wants the war to end. The goal here is not to claim victory one side over the other or to gloat about who outmaneuvered who. The goal here is to end a conflict where everyday people are dying. And the longer it takes to end this war, the more people will die. This war will eventually end with a negotiated settlement. It will not end with a military solution. It's his view, I should say, which I share, that the only way we're going to get a breakthrough at this point after what's happened here is for the president to directly engage, probably at a personal level, and determine once and for all what it is the Russian side wants and whether peace is possible.